highlighted in the past before, and I'm not sure whether Dr. Aisha agrees with this, is perhaps the definition and classification of the EVs could be better clarified. This is something that we are in the process of doing, and it's always we're always trying to catch up, so to speak, because the quality of the EVs keep getting better, and then our definition and classification of those kinds of EV vehicles have also to be caught up. If you're classified as an EV, then definitely the incentives in terms of reduction of excise taxes and other related incentives would obviously be higher. I think that this is still the way to go, because we want to have a greater volume of cars to be energy efficient. And if they are more energy efficient, and if we raise the bar in terms of the EV quality, then you'll get less fuel consuming vehicles, and that would be a savings to the consumer. The tricky part here is how do we transition then, or how do we bring in the electric vehicles component, right? Because electric vehicles are much more fuel efficient compared to EVs, right? So I think the challenge for us is, as we come up with the blueprints and also the detailed policy, how do we then want to push for electric vehicles, and then at the same time also take care of industry concerns in terms of level of automation, and also whether or not the local market can actually accept this kind of vehicles to come in, right? Because there's also a pricing issue, and the initial group bunch of electric vehicles would mostly be CBU units, not CKD units, hence would not be eligible for the ILP incentives and whatnot. So I think the issues to do with EV are linked with how do we push the standards of EV, and then at the same time bring in to the picture electric vehicles as well. Doctor?
Basically, I just want to add on, as far as electric vehicles, there were many that were sold previously when the government incentivized for completely built up CBU units. But because the incentive was removed for CBU, most of the industry players had to do away with bringing in electric vehicles, as well as hybrids was there, but more of electric vehicles because of the fact of, in terms of infrastructure as well, there's not enough infrastructure, but now the technology has improved and all that, and you can really charge a vehicle in 15 minutes and go, 300 kilometers. But the issue is, last year, there's only 2 units of electric vehicles that were registered in Malaysia, and that's by Renault. The rest all moved away because there was no incentives. It's very expensive, and who is going to buy an electric vehicle when it's out of their range and the infrastructure is not there? So this is the things that the government will have to look into in terms of infrastructure development. You're talking about it, but there's still not enough. And maybe you just cannot introduce a car by bringing in local assembly. If you don't have volume, it's not viable for you to do local assembly. This is where electric vehicles haven't caught on in Malaysia.
That's why, one of the challenges that I highlighted just now, and we like to see this as an economic opportunity, because as other countries such as China and different parts of Europe move on to more electric vehicles, I think the cost will also go down, and this is where we need more progressive and forward-looking policies that will not be detailed out in the NEP review, but will be clarified in subsequent documents that MITI would release in order to not just highlight what MITI is doing, but also some of the other government ministries such as MASTEC work together to come up with incentives for, let's say, charging stations, for example.
Okay.
And then that's consistent with our policy to want to bring in next generation vehicles, including electric vehicles. I take note of what Dr. Aisha has said in terms of the constraints, and practically speaking, the electric car volume in Malaysia will not be very big to begin with. It's not big now. I don't see it spiking up anytime in the near future. But we have to see this as an economic opportunity, right? Because this is what global trends are telling us. And the economic opportunity doesn't come in just in the form of either CKD electric cars, but it also comes in the form of providing the ecosystem. charging stations, for example, that's an economic opportunity for players to get involved in, private sector players. I talked about mobility as a service, swapping batteries, for example, that can be a form of new economic opportunity as well.